Knowledge is power. Make an impact by learning more, or hire us to do it for you. Let us focus on what we do best so you can stay focused on what you do best. Find all of our options under services, one-to-one training, subscription-based training, or accounting and business consulting. Okay, everybody, you know what? I have a special announcement to make.
What is it?
It only took 8 minutes, but we are live on Facebook. Good morning. Happy Friday. Welcome to the Zoom In with Seth, David, and friends. Zoom in between Wall and Main. We've got some questions to answer today. I've been going through the group and picking out the questions. You guys ask them. We answer them. Everybody wins something. Oh, by the way, I have both of you together on my screen, Matthew and Mariette. I still owe you copies of Talk Triggers. I forgot to bring them to QuickBooks Connect. And I have a task in Active Collab that I look at every day that says, don't forget to send out Talk Triggers to Matthew and Mariette.
And I get a weekly reminder in my Slack that I sent you my address to send me it, and I just keep on, having that pop up until you send it to me.
Send me the address again.
Okay, I'll send it again. I'll remind you to send it again. I'll do that.
All righty then. Remind me to remind you to remind me to remind you
to send it
again. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
It's not like we've hung out or anything recently. So.
I know, exactly. And I kicked myself when I got home that night because I'm like, fuck, I forgot the book. Oh, I said the F
Yes,
word.
You did. Hold on. I can go back in time and remove that for you.
Okay, perfect. I dropped an F-bomb live on the air. But good thing it's not FCC regulated here.
True.
Very true. Don't have to worry about that too much. I did once have, this is hilarious. I love Mike McCallowitz. I had him on a Zoom. He was the Zoom I did, by the way, that brought in the most attendees we've ever had on a Zoom. We had like 65 people live when I had Mike McCallowitz on. And he likes to use the F word, among others. And somebody commented about how it was, quote unquote, unprofessional. It was very unprofessional. And I was like, shut up. Apparently, today's video is entitled V. Because I went to hit Control V to paste the title, and I guess somehow I didn't press the Control key hard enough. Unbelievable. It's one of those mornings. So who wants to answer some questions from the Between Wall and Main strategy forum today? No one?
My alternate persona could possibly, but I don't know if the audio is coming through when I keep trying to play. So
no audio, just video.
Epic fail.
Are you trying to play the sound of me biting into my apple?
I've got a whole bunch of funny stuff on there, but I'll have to do it at a different time then.
Okay. So nobody wants to answer questions today? That was supposed to be the subject of the day.
I think you're asking, so everybody's thinking you're saying, do we want to specifically be the ones to answer the questions? Yes, I would love for us to join in and help answer questions.
Okay.
I'll answer questions for the 5 minutes that I'll be sitting here at the airport.
All right. Well, the first one has to do with QBO payroll and bank feeds.
I won't answer that one.
Another one that Mariette will answer.
This is from Suchi. She says she's pulling her hair out. QBO is so frustrating. I really don't understand how you all, Seth, love it. So our client used QBO for payroll, and this is from a couple weeks ago, actually. And I love when people write comments like this. I stopped loving it months ago. It's slow and messed up. I desperately want to reply and say, you don't know how to use it, but I'll refrain. Anyway, and then we have a few people chiming in about how wonderful Xero is, so I couldn't resist the temptation to put in my link to my video on QBO versus Xero, which ultimately points out why I chose QBO over Xero. But the real question here and the real issue is that she had apparently somebody got paid twice. A paycheck got like duplicated, and one of them got matched up. What?
They got physically paid twice, or it was just twice?
Yeah, the bank honored it twice. which happens apparently. It can happen. Nothing to do
Yep.
with QBO payroll. That's the bank's fault. The bank
Yep.
isn't, checking properly. And a lot of times these
So are they direct depositing it and then taking the actual check in to have it cashed?
No, here's what I think happened, or one example of what could have happened anyway, is because if it's, well, either way, if I get a check, these days I can use my mobile app to deposit the check. I can deposit it that way, and then I still have the check. I can go bring it to the bank.
Yep.
And then, because if you do direct deposit, you don't ever get or see an actual check. The check it has a watermark on it that basically says like it's not a valid check. So that's the most likely way that this can happen is I do a mobile deposit and then take it to the bank and deposit it again, and the bank somehow doesn't catch it. That this check has already been paid. I once did it by accident, and the bank caught it immediately and let me know, hey, this has already been deposited. And I was like, oops, sorry.
Well, now they'll catch it as you're doing it. So if the amount is similar, it will warn you and it'll tell you it'll take a few extra days. But it's
that they have to double check it, right?
That's in the mobile deposit. But if
That's
somebody actually does a mobile deposit and then physically goes and puts it in the bank machine, it often doesn't get caught.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, you have to tell them because that's happened to my client.
So that's not a QBO payroll issue.
Right.
No.
It's not a QBO payroll issue, but here's where QBO did come into play and create some friction, which is that one of the paychecks that cleared got matched up with the online banking when it cleared the bank account. The second one did not, and there's no way, like normally when I have an expense in QBO and it matches up with online banking, there's a link I can click on to see clearly what it's matched with, and I can unmatch it if I need to. So I can unmatch the wrong one, match the right one, and so on. So that's not an option when it's a paycheck that was done through QBO payroll. You can't, it doesn't give you the link between it and what it was matched, right? Or what it was matched to, I should say. But, I guess the month had already been reconciled. So the bottom line is this, and this was kind of my answer at the end of the day is, I don't really, because at this point I would say, forget about matched and unmatched. What I would do is, because the check did get honored twice, so it's going to clear twice, and then they're going to reverse it. They're going to, put the money back in and take the money away from the payee. So you just have to follow the cash with something like this, right? But in the meantime, and bigger picture, when we run into issues like this of reconciliation, I don't necessarily care about matching with online banking. All I really care about is reconciling what's in QuickBooks to the bank account. So if I end up removing and recreating a transaction as I may need to, or whatever I need to do, then I get stuff stuck back in the online download queue, and I just exclude it because I'm just going to reconcile it anyway. In other words, I don't have to have everything matched to be in a perfect world. Matching is nice. It helps speed up reconciliation, but I can usurp the matching and just reconcile the thing, and I'm done, right? And so that, to me, is the answer on something like this at the end of the day. If you're getting stuck because it's a payroll check so you can't actually unmatch it, don't worry about it. Just if you need to delete an extra transaction because let's say it was posted twice in QuickBooks and didn't actually clear and you reconciled the wrong one or whatever, then you just delete the extra one and if need be re-reconcile. And if that process produces a result of having something get pushed back up into the bank feed download, where it's waiting to be matched in again, then you just exclude it. It's really, you just check it off in the queue and under batch actions, you choose exclude. And that, to me, that's the answer is at the end of the day, just reconcile it. Don't worry about matching the bank feeds. It's not that important, actually. So that's my story and I'm sticking to it.
Agreed.
You could also consider looking on the in QuickBooks side and choosing to undo that. Sorry, I was a little late to the party here.
Well, yeah, you can go into the bank feeds and go see what's in QuickBooks. That's absolutely correct. And you can undo it from there.
Mariette, I was hoping to ask you about my little QuickBooks self-employed challenge. Maybe other people have experienced this as well. We've got a situation where one of my clients has a subcontractor that we requested them to fill out their information because we pay them through QuickBooks Online. And, they went in, they set it up to where they can get the checks, everything else, especially year end for 1099s right now. If you want to get them to fill in their own details to receive the 1099, But then, of course, I wanted to make things complicated because I was like, hey, why not try to turn every one of my client subcontractors into new clients? And let's set them up with a self-employed, actually QuickBooks self-employed. And it seemed to have created this horrific loop where I can't access either one. I've tried calling over to Intuit on this twice. No luck on that side of it. What's happened is she's now had someone else send her a request to fill out information. She can't get to it because it goes through the email. Like I basically said, tell them to send it to a different email address, make one up if you have to. But she can't actually get to the request to fill it out, and we cannot get into QuickBooks Self-Employed. Anybody seen that before?
I've never even touched QuickBooks Self-Employed. I just
I've
haven't
never
ever.
even touched self-employed.
Yeah.
I broke it. Okay.
You broke it.
I've touched it, but I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yep.
But
But
I know what I'm talking about.
But I do like the strategy of trying to turn your clients' vendors into clients. That's smart. I like it. I like the way you think.
Thank you.
Okay, so does anybody have an answer? I think Mariette did post a reply, Matthew, with a video and a blog post that she did on the subject. I do recall this morning seeing your question and seeing her reply with I believe there was a video and a blog post that she did. So I forget where it is you had posted that. I don't know if it was in the Facebook group or if it was in our 97 and Up Slack. I wake up in the morning sometimes and I just browse around and look at these things, and then I remember seeing them. I just don't remember where I saw them. It's like
I saw it as well, so it must be in the Facebook group.
okay.
Hey, Mariette, have I told you yet you're awesome?
I think she's gone.
She's gone. She
I know,
posted
but
in
she'll
the
see
chat.
this afterwards. Hashtag replay.
If she watches the replay, who knows? She's a very busy mompreneur. All right, so the next thing I wanted to share based on our group's activity over the past week or so. Actually, that question we started with was from a couple of weeks ago, and we had already answered it. I just realized because I have one running document with all of these, and so I forgot to scroll down to. I have them sectioned off by date, so I know what date it was done. This one I love. So I don't know if any of you have. I love for personal reasons, of course. I don't know how many of you have been catching my daily lives that I've been doing on Facebook. So each day, Monday through Thursday, really, I've been doing one, and I believe it was after last Monday's that Catherine here got motivated to do this. She says, huge shout out to Seth David in the live call last week. I stepped out in faith after the call and contacted someone I've been wanting to work with for the last few months. We met for coffee to share how we could help each other. Now I think I have a new client and business ally. Cold calling someone up like that is a first for me. I normally just rely on the referrals. So that's awesome. I want to clarify one thing, though. That's not really cold calling because it sounds like it's somebody she already knew. Cold calling is when you call a complete and total stranger, right? This is a warm call. Cold calling is probably not a great thing to do, but a warm call like this, when you know the person and you say, hey, let's meet for lunch and let's talk and see how we can help one another, that's awesome. That's exactly the way to do it. That's how I do it on LinkedIn, actually, is on LinkedIn, I'll sometimes, and I haven't done it in a while because I've gotten so busy over the years, but years ago when I was looking, when I had more time, frankly, to go out and meet with people and try and network and build the business, I would actually search. LinkedIn has great search capabilities where I could narrow down a search and find CPAs within like a 25-mile radius or a 50-mile radius, reach out to them, connect, and then offer to meet them for lunch on, say, a Friday at a restaurant. And we would just sit and talk, and again, it would be about how can we help one another, because I can always refer clients to a CPA because I always get clients coming in the door who ask me about somebody new who they want to find somebody new to do their taxes. They're not happy or whatever. And then vice versa. They're, the whole idea is they're going to maybe refer clients to me because they get a messy set of books and they don't want to spend the time cleaning it up. They don't care about charging the client to do it. They just don't want to do it. So they give it to me to do. And I got some really cool referrals that way from a guy years ago who was a tax attorney who defended clients in tax court, these were IRS cases that were resulting from audits they had performed. And he would refer these clients to me to either compile their books in the first place or clean them up or do something so that he had something presentable to take to the IRS. And you talk about a cleanup job, that's like the ultimate cleanup job. And I used to love those jobs. So anyway, I love what Catherine did here. Open it up for comments. Who else has done something like this, or is anybody else inspired now to do something like this?
One of the things that we always do every year, after tax time, we reach out to all the CPAs that we work with, and we ask them, "Hey, what worked well? What didn't? What things would you like to see us change?" As accountants, we all have our own accounting style at times, and if we're going to work with CPAs, especially if we have certain partners, we really, really want to foster that relationship. It's important to talk to them and find out, maybe by changing just this one account name to this or that, you can really improve their process also. And that really goes a long ways. They start to really refer you a lot of clients when you start to do that.
Yep. I was just reviewing some notes I had made while studying the book, The Lean Startup. And one of my favorite things, and I was reminded of this reviewing my notes, is that every time you do something marketing-wise or something with clients, or you get through something like tax season, it's always a good time to reach out and poll the people you've worked with, right? And my favorite question is very simple, open-ended, and it could be a bit like leading with the chin because you're opening yourself up to get punched, but you could also get really good feedback by asking a simple open-ended question like, what could we have done better? By asking what could we have done better, even if the feedback you get is harsh and critical, the point is you can take that harsh critical feedback and turn it into an asset by improving your business and doing something you might not have even thought of. And your first reaction might even be something like, oh, that's ridiculous. They're asking way too much. And because I've been through this where I get that reaction to somebody's harsh negative feedback, and then I get a minute to think about it and I'm like, wait a minute. Maybe that's how everybody else reacts too. Therefore, if I actually do this, I'm like a step ahead or above all the competition, so to speak, right? Because that's how we stand out, is by doing things that others, frankly, aren't willing to do. So I love that. I love that idea, Matthew. But yeah, just ask people very open-endedly. Send them a one-question poll. Hey, it was great working with you over the past month or over the past tax season. Do me a favor, just one simple question. Let us know what we could have done better. Don't ask if there was anything we could have done better, because that's going to sort of lead them to want to be polite and say, oh, no, everything was fine. Just ask them point blank. Assume it. I'm assuming, because there's always things we could do better, right?
Yeah.
If we ever reach the point where we couldn't possibly do anything better than we did, then we're screwed, because we're stuck, because we can't go anywhere from there, right? That's why I say if I ever wake up one day thinking I know everything, I'm screwed, because I can no longer learn anything, right? So I like that. I like it a lot. Let's see. All right, let's go to the next question.
What you got next?
So Seth, do you have anyone that needs to be entered? To join or Zoom? I think Linda was trying to get in.
I thought I saw something, but I thought I saw somebody give her the link. So yeah, here's Linda. She was in the attendees panel. Yeah, unfortunately, once I start, it's hard for me to go out and give links out and stuff, because I'm obviously busy doing this. But rest assured,
I interrupted you.
No worries. But rest assured, you can always go to the events page on my website, and I promise you, there is a link there.
I'd be happy to do
I will prove it to you, because I even went there this morning myself.
I got the spinning wheel, so I just went to Facebook and grabbed the invite. But let's see if it works.
You may have to wait a minute.
I went to Facebook too.
You may have to wait a minute, because it's an Airtable embed, right? So it may take a minute to load. But
and
rest
then I
assured,
asked my buddy, but he didn't let me in either, so I had to go for
right.
Oh, look, it popped right
No,
up.
look, see, and I just cleared my history, so it shouldn't take
maybe
that
I
long.
should look at mine. Yeah.
Seth,
couldn't
it
get
just
that done.
popped right up for you, but for those of us, it
Because
was
it's in his
wonky
cache.
for me. And I hate to always be the one to say that. It's always me saying, I'm having a hard time. So
Right.
I have a suggestion.
The other sure thing is I always post it in the group. It's always going to be a recent post in the group by the time you get here Friday morning.
That's where I grabbed it.
I rely on that one too.
Yep, here it is. Not far down.
I tried looking for that. I couldn't find that either. I was everywhere. I went to Slack. I found Sarah, then Gina.
Yep. No, I swear it's always in the group, and it's always on my page, on my events page. Like I said, you may just have to wait a minute for it to load. The fact that I cleared my cache means it should have taken me longer, actually, because the cache is what will help the calendar load faster because it remembers it, right?
Oh.
So if it's again, it should load within, a few seconds, really.
Zoom is a funny little beast that we've been diving into, trying to learn a little bit more here and there about it because it's such a necessary tool. One of the biggest things that's really, really helped me is being able to have like Linda on as a co-host so she can actually help keep an eye on anybody who's trying to jump in and attend, because she can, like, we could basically switch back and forth and decide somebody can do the administrative things on the backside. So it gets too hard to do all of it. You're right.
Yeah, no, you have to focus. So I usually tell people, like, get in early if you need help. But no, usually there's always somebody around who's helpful. So that's always good. And I thank you for that.
While we're kind of on the subject of Zoom, I wonder if I could ask a question. See
All right, I'll stop sharing my screen. I guess we won't answer the question I was going to.
Yeah, why do we need to answer the question that you were going to? This is more important. It's a live question.
Go for it.
When sharing your screen on Zoom, I often run into the situation where QBO just is excessively slow in loading pages, and if you're doing a training session, that is like death to me.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any tips or tricks to kind of speed that up?
Well, for one thing, when I'm doing a training session, I usually have them share their screen. I don't share mine.
That's fine. I have the same thing.
Right.
I was working
Make
with.
sure all of your other windows are closed.
Yeah, close that. Anything especially that weighs down heavily on your resources, like Slack.
Facebook.
A lot of resources. I don't know if Facebook, it's just a web page. But one way to find out what's using a lot of resources is go into your task manager, right? And you can sort it actually by the amount of memory the app is using. And you can quickly sort of clip the things that are using a lot of memory. And then the other thing that solved the problem for me, which is more of a hardware solution than anything else, is it was worth every penny getting the 1,000 gigs up and down on my internet at home.
Tiffany, I have to agree with you. I find that Facebook seems to take up a lot of my daily resources.
Well, it depends. I think you're talking about something else, Matt.
Yeah.
You're talking about the squirrels. But yeah, you can, and just in case somebody watching doesn't know what I'm talking about or how to do this, if you want to see what's using a lot of resources, you go to your task manager here. Obviously, this is for PCs. Macs are different. Macs are special. And if I go to details here, I can then sort by memory. So Chrome is using a ton of memory, right? Chrome is the highest hog of resources on my machine at this moment. Zoom is second, basically, right? Look what else is here, though. Slack, Google Drive Sync. And you can turn these off while you're in your session and then just turn them back on, right? You just right-click and choose End Task, and it'll end it. Look how many instances of Slack are running. I don't know why that is. I only have one Slack app installed on my desktop, but I have a lot of different
it's the different channels.
Workspaces.
The workspaces.
And it doesn't necessarily run them all, because if you ever notice, if you have all these workspaces on your Slack like I do here, right? I have all these workspaces here. Sometimes even though they're here, if I click on it, it clearly is loading for the first time. So Slack seems to have a cache of its own where it remembers the channels I've been in most recently and maybe most frequently. And other channels, it kind of signs me out until I click on them. So it's like they're trying to manage your resources a little better. But as you can see, Slack is a major resource hog.
And another one is if you have like the add-ons. So in Chrome, every time you have an add-on extension, that's another Chrome browser in a sense that is running in the background. That's why you have so many different Chromes and everything else. And eats up your computing capability. But again, that wouldn't necessarily slow down QuickBooks Online as much.
Well, the thing is, if your resources are being taxed, anything else you're running can be affected. So QuickBooks Online can be affected very easily because QuickBooks Online is designed to sort of stay dormant until you do something. But once you do something, if I go to enter something or save a transaction for sure, you know, then all of a sudden it's going to like wake up and eat up resources.
Hey, Greg, have you tried the QuickBooks Online desktop app?
Yeah, and it picks it up a little bit quicker, but I think that
The other thing is, Greg, are you hardwired into your router?
I'm not, but it's not even just me.
No, but I promise you, because I was having a lot of problems, and a long time ago, Leora Weinstein from CogniView was on with me, and that was the first thing he told me. He said, you cannot stream video on a Wi-Fi signal. It just doesn't work well.
And
So,
Lots of people have said that.
yep. So I am always hardwired into my router now.
Yeah.
Try that. I guarantee it'll improve your performance.
I would need to cut holes in the walls and.
Is your router? Well, that's going to make it even worse if you're obviously that far away from the router.
No, I'm not that far. My up and down is 250. So
Okay.
The bandwidth is not a huge issue.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, it makes a huge difference because I thought the same thing, and I'm only like 2 feet away from my router, and I thought that close to my router on a Wi-Fi shouldn't be an issue, but I guarantee you, once I started, and what I did was I got a long Cat6 cable to run from my router to my computer, and I run it across the floor just while you're doing a live session like that, right? And then you can disconnect it.
There's another part of this that needs to be considered as well. The cable companies throttle your speeds. So it's very, very possible that towards the end of the month, especially if you're doing live streaming, if you're doing a lot of Zooms, you're eating up their data and their bandwidth, they will throttle you. They will not tell you that. They will BS you. They'll do, oh my gosh, I had Charter Spectrum, and I am happy to say this out loud. Horrible, horrible company to begin with when I was on the normal Charter internet. Had them out to my place 4 different times. Finally made them run a brand new line from the middle of the line, not from a pole, straight to my house. So where it was like visually you could see the whole thing. I finally switched over to Charter Business or Spectrum Business. Never had a problem ever since for 3 years. And I'm just 80, I think it's 100 up, 100 down. Makes all the difference in the world, but they absolutely will throttle you, especially if you're doing if you're doing live streaming video a lot, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'm on a broadband. It's not through the cable company. It's broadband only company that I get the internet through. So they say that they don't throttle, but I mean, who knows?
Yeah, of course they will. No, but I'm telling you, the hardwiring makes all the difference. As soon as Leora said that to me, and Leora was like one of those, I could have heard it from probably 50 other people and wouldn't have taken it seriously, but when Leora said it to me, I took it seriously because I really respect what he thinks, especially when it comes to this kind of stuff. And I did it. I said, well, can't hurt to try it, and it really made all the difference. And the message I got, and the message I will now swear by, is if you're streaming video, if you're sharing your screen, you do not want to be on a Wi-Fi. You need to be hardwired in. It really does make a difference, even if you don't think it will.
And then power line adapters. You can plug it into the electric socket. As long as you're on the same circuit breaker, you can use that to jump across the room. So you do one plugged in from your cable or your modem into the power line adapter. If you're on the same circuit, you can go somewhere else, and you can then run the cable. It works the same way. Yep.
And when I bought my new computer, and I didn't realize it until I got it home and started setting it up, that it doesn't actually have an Ethernet port on the computer. So I bought an adapter that goes from Ethernet to USB, concerned it would reduce the quality, but it doesn't. I still get my base. You never get the full 1,000 gigs up and down, but I ran the test and I got like 900 something up and down. So it didn't seem to sacrifice any quality by using an adapter, if need be, to go from Ethernet to USB.
Yeah, and I have that capability, but again, as I said, it's just a matter of reconfiguring where everything.
Yeah, but it's worth it because this is how you make a living.
Yeah, it sounds like you might just have to bite the bullet, Greg.
Yep. Because I can guarantee you that's your core problem right there. I guarantee you if you can make that change, test it. Move your computer closer to the router so you can just quickly test it while you're online with somebody. Test it with me later today. I'm very confident that you'll find that it makes a big difference.
Format solution is not a bad one either. That's a lower cost one.
Which one?
Matt, the one.
Oh, using the plug-in. But Matt, can you clarify exactly what that looks like and how that works? What do you actually plug into the wall?
1 second.
We're going to lose him.
Yeah, he's
Because he's going to unplug it. Or he'll come back as an avatar and not him.
He'll come back as me.
He'll come back as Seth.
They have adapters that literally look just like this. So they plug right in. You'll have something where you just plug it in Ethernet into the bottom, and it uses the electrical of the home to send the signal instead.
So that you don't have to configure that at all to be connected to your router?
No, because you do two of them. There's one on both sides.
Oh, so there's one by your router that's somehow sending it through the electrical lines, and this is receiving it.
Yeah, it's using the house wires as a hard wire. Now, the key to it is you have to be on the same circuit breaker.
Yeah,
So
I tried that at a house, my old house in a town. It was an older house, and so it ended up not working because it went through a different set of circuits somehow through the house, because how old houses get put together piecemeal.
You're 100% correct on that one. It wouldn't work then because you wouldn't have the wires crossing at that point.
Right.
That's when you get it like really long cable.
I'm checking
Matthew, where did you get that?
Nowadays you can get them off Amazon. I'll pull one up and put a link up for everybody, but I got it at Fry's.
Yeah, you can get Fry's, Best Buy.
I'll pull one up like on Amazon so people will know, and I'll add it to the links.
Thank you.
Of course.
Okay. So, Greg,
you
got some ideas to work with now?
Yep.
Send me your spreadsheet, by the way. I want to take a look at that. I think the key, by the way, so I just quickly shifted to a new question that none of you have any idea what we're talking about.
Which spreadsheet are we talking?
Greg had a question about pivot tables and date filters. It occurred to me after I wrote that reply and I was making my coffee in my kitchen, I was thinking about it. You're just trying to set up a date filter in the filter quadrant.
Mm-hmm.
In Excel in particular, I'm not sure about Google Sheets, but in Excel for sure, if you incorporate the date into the pivot table itself, then in the drop down within the pivot table, you get more sophisticated date filters where you can then filter it for a date range.
All right. Well,
try that.
We'll have to play with that one later.
You're send it to me. I actually learned that from Matthew because I was struggling the same way. I was very limited on date filters, just trying to put the date in the filter quadrant. And does anybody want to see kind of a quick example of what we're talking about? Nah, forget it. We'll do it next week. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, Seth, I love when you excel.
Do you want me to share my screen?
No, I'll share mine. I'll just make up some quick data on the fly. We'll see.
We can just roll with this and try to.
You don't mind sharing it? Isn't it client data or something?
No, it's all coded.
Okay. Then go ahead and share. Share the Excel, not the Google Sheets, because I'm not sure you can get it done in Google Sheets. It's one of the very few limitations of Google Sheets pivot tables. So, all right. So
Can we make it bigger? We can barely see this tiny. Yeah.
Okay. So see how you have the date as a filter itself?
Right.
Get that out of there and bring the date into the pivot table. Just pull it out and drag it into like either a column or a row. Probably a column would make more sense.
Like this?
No, into the columns quadrant, Perfect. Now you might want that above the employee ID. Let's make the date field the primary.
Like I said in my post, I'm a.
Take that to rows, please.
No. Oh, you want to take it to rows? Okay.
What I find is if you do rows, what you can usually do, play with your different axes to get better layout of information generally.
Well, no, I think you're getting away from the topic, though, that we're trying to. I mean, it doesn't really matter as long as it's in the pivot table. So now, Greg, in the pivot table itself, click where it says row labels. Click that drop down.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you see value filters.
Okay, so there
So,
was
and here you have options like between, which is exactly what you wanted, was a date range. And then you can go back to what Matthew was starting to say, which is depending on what kind of a layout you're going for and where the dates would make sense, to be, then you can play around with whether you want dates in your rows or your columns. I usually like my dates in columns because I like my timeline to go all the way out to the right as far as I need it to. That's how I like to read things on a timeline, but that's just me.
That's a good
but
point.
ultimately I don't want dates, right?
What?
You want to change them at the top is what you're trying to do.
I
Like
want
a
to change
slider.
them.
Yeah, I don't know where you got off to here because now it's trying to do a count of your payroll amount. Click cancel. Let's try again. So go to row labels.
Date field.
Date field is right. Value filters between. Okay, so then change that. So we don't want count of payroll amount. We want date. Okay, that's really weird. All right, try cancel. Put the dates back in the columns. That may be the issue. Now click the column labels drop down. Date field, value filters between. That's where I don't know why it's doing that, and it may be quirky because of the conversion from Google Sheets back to Excel.
No, it's just straight data at this point.
So what happens with dates, if there's in your data set, your main table, if you have a single blank or anything that's not an actual date, it will mess with the ability for it to format correctly, as well as dates will often get transferred back over as text, and you'll need to multiply everything by 1 to turn it back into an actual date field.
But that's what I had here. I had the date and then I turned it into text, but it could be what you were saying about the
Error field or a blank.
the blank or the NA. Here's the date field.
So the date field is the one we're trying to use?
Some that are values and some that are
Yeah,
blank.
so you have some bad values in there. So you have to clean that.
So unclick 2019, 2018 real quick. Now click OK. Now you've got your bad values. These are probably empty rows, maybe.
Yes.
It looks like all these rows are sort of bad.
Remove all those rows.
Be careful though, because your list is filtered, so you want to make sure you're not removing rows in between.
Yeah.
So I would go back, I would clear the data filters and sort it.
Go to 4,000 like you did, because you've got the fancy button on there. Select all of them.
Oh, you do have select visible cells.
Exactly.
But I don't think you can remove non-adjacent rows like that. You'll leave blank rows in the middle of it. Try it.
Clear. Okay. Then, so what I would do is I do that, then I would sort the table and I'd go straight to the bottom and shrink the table size.
Whoa, you lost me. What did you say?
Go back to the table. Because what you've just done, I believe, is you've left a bunch of blank rows in the middle of the table. That's why normally I would just have sorted it, and then that way everything's adjacent and you delete it. So yeah, clear your filters. Just click select all. And now sort it. Sort it by date field just to make sure. And then go to the bottom. And then Matthew's saying shrink your table. So you see how you have all those extra rows? Get rid of them.
Actually, one other thing is that actually a table?
No, it doesn't look like it's formatted as a table.
No.
If possible, change it to a table. If you did Control Home, we'll take you to the top right corner. And then I think it's Control Shift End takes you to the bottom corner on the right side.
Yeah, so it put me down to.
So yeah, I did the wrong adjacent cells. So go to the very bottom, the last cell of data, and then Control T to turn it to a table. Basically, if you can highlight all those, turn it to.
So here, Control Home. Here's a really quick way to do this. Control Home, and then Control Shift down arrow. No.
Do the same thing.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, so Control Shift up arrow, Control Shift right and left arrow, right?
Perfect.
All right, Control T to turn it into a table. And then just click OK to confirm. It already knows the exact range because you selected it.
So beautiful. Now you have summarized with a pivot table at the top there.
Oh.
Click that bad boy and go ahead and say OK. It'll take it straight to a new tab. Now you can, if you just click those even, it'll add into different areas, but you can drag and drop them too, which is great.
Yeah, so I want to do that. I want to do that. And then the values is payroll amount. And then my date field. Where am I putting this in?
Put it above employee ID in columns, and then because then we want to apply filters to it.
Oh,
And look what it already did. So it's already gotten smart, and it sees, all right, it's got you broken down by year, within that by quarter, within that by month.
what if I
So
don't
now
want
the
to do
dates
that?
are working properly.
Because I have very specific date ranges that it needs to be pulled from.
So go look at the pivot table itself, top left. Now we're back to where I was trying to take you in the first place. Click the column labels drop down. And now we have changed the field, right? We don't want years. Change the field drop down and change that to date field, and then value filters, and then between. I don't know why it's doing this. It should.
So in these, the choices where you have your pivot table field.
Wait, I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you, Matt, but I think I just realized the problem. Go back to the column labels drop down. We don't want value filters because that's going to filter on the values. We want date filters. Go to date filters on the date field.
Down, right above the value filter. Up.
Custom filter. Is between or is not between. And now you can even click on those little calendar guys to pick your dates or just type them in.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact dates that I'm dealing with here,
but clearly you can see you can set whatever date range you want now. And for those wondering, Matthew just posted a link in the chat to where you can go on Amazon to get the Powerline adapter.
They have cheaper ones too, but that's a good one.
Get rid of this quarters and years.
Yeah, you can just uncheck it.
Where did the months go? All right. Well, this is a ton better than what I was doing before. So.
Yep.
And then are you familiar with how to format the numbers where they're at to be like accounting or whatever else you might want?
Yeah. So click count a payroll amount. Click on that and go to value field settings. You might want to click on number for do a sum, but then click it again. Go back to it. Click it. Go to number of value field settings, and then go to number format. The button at the bottom left. And now you can format these just like you would in a normal cell formatting to look like actual numbers.
Yeah.
And accounting format's really nice. I
hate the dollar signs. They make me crazy. They make me want to kill people. They have a Clockwork Orange-like effect on me.
I'm down. So accounting.
I get that, but that is a little excessive.
Or go to number, right? And use this way you have red formatting in case you have a negative number in there, which I happen to prefer.
Okay. Now,
very unfair.
I'm totally going to hijack this. Now, if I want to show based on this, I would just do a VLOOKUP here. If I want to pull the employee name from another table that I have in this.
Well, or you can. It's from if it's in a different table, what I would do is pull the employee names into the table that sits behind this pivot table, because then you can.
Maybe I should.
Yeah, because then you can do a filter on the employee if you want this to just show for a specific employee, and you can literally pick them out of a drop down that way.
All right, cool.
Real quickly, because I know when we start geeking out on Excel, we can possibly lose some people on this. The reason I wanted to contribute towards it is there's so much stuff that we do using pivot tables, and it was really hard for me to learn them at first. The best part about a pivot table is you can do, like, it's a pivot. You can literally take one thing from one place, move it over, and you won't mess up the data. You can try to play around with the organization and the formatting of it. Your data is still good, but you can tweak it until you find the look that you like. And the key thing that'll make it easy for people is to make sure you have a table structure first. And if you have,
That's huge.
Yep.
it messes up your pivot tables.
You want to see something really cool since we're on the subject? Greg, at the top of your screen, top right, you see you're on the Analyze under the pivot tables. Go to Design to the right of that, and then click this drop down right here with the little design formats. Just there on the right. And you can pick some cool little designs and make it colorful and, but frankly, easier to read. And now I'll show you some cool things. While we're in here, look at your options in the ribbon to the left where you have banded rows and columns. Click on banded rows and watch what happens to your pivot table or banded columns. You see it puts a subtle little line there, so you can really tweak what this looks and feels like to make it easier to read. And the point is, of course, I want to be able to analyze this data and understand what it's telling me very quickly. So play around with this stuff because it makes a huge difference, especially if you're going to, even if you're just using it for yourself, you know, it just makes it easier to read, but especially if you're presenting it to someone else, you know, for any purpose.
Yeah. Automating this process has been the bane of my existence for the last year, but it's all coming together here. It's getting all this data prepped for a work comp audit.
Right.
Pretty good existence, my friend.
And so those numbers, 8194, those are representations of classes that you set up?
No, these are the classes, these are the employee IDs.
Oh, employee ID, sorry. That's right, that's right. Okay. Oh, so that's how you kind of protect the information for this purpose today.
Well, yeah, and I was thinking that was the only way that I was going to be able to get it based on.
Well, so now, go back to your original table and do a VLOOKUP on the employee ID and pull in their name, right? That's easy.
And then make that table. That's kind of like, I guess, the piece that I was missing.
Yeah.
Just add another column in, yeah.
You can, once you add the column in, you'll have to update the pivot table. You'll have to refresh it so that it will recognize the new data you've added to the table, and then everything will work beautifully.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big old CF, you know.
Yep. Did you pull this data using Skyview?
I did.
All right.
I think it's
using Skyview, and now that you guys walk me through that, I can probably apply the same logic over in my Google Sheet, and I'd imagine.
I don't know if Google Sheets gives you the custom date range option, but try it. It might.
All right. Well, let me stop sharing just that window and let's go to this window.
Hey, Linda.
No, I'm not going to do this now. I'm not going to hijack.
Okay. Meanwhile, I just thought I'd share this with you guys.
Yeah.
Y'all see this on my screen? That was my hot chocolate that I drank last night.
Yeah, this is my
Cool cup.
It was really good.
I'm representing Big Bang Theory. Bazinga.
Cool. I love that. Bazinga. All right, let's
This is
answer.
a gift from somebody that appreciated how I helped them.
That's
Aw.
awesome. That's awesome. All right, let's answer one more question from my my list here. Where did it go?
Sarah, Linda, I think I'm going to switch to legal as niche too.
Oh, God. All right, looking for a product that will allow us to export and import historical transactions to convert a QBO file down to QB desktop and back up to a new QBO file for cleanup. Apparently, transaction per importer will not work. Any of the suggestion would be appreciated. So just for context, before everybody jumps on, like, why is he doing this? Because it took a while to get that clarified in the thread. The answer to why he was doing this is twofold. One is they wanted a chance to really significantly clean up the data. They didn't just want to go into the existing QBO company, but also, and this is something I hope Intuit is prepared for, because when they changed their whole pricing system so that existing QBO companies could not be put into wholesale and put on wholesale pricing, this is what people are going to start doing. They're going to download it to desktop, clean it up, create a brand new QBO file for that brand new company so they can get the wholesale pricing again, and then boom, import it. So that's exactly what he was trying to do here. And ultimately, my answer was you'll have to use SASANT for the QBO export because TPI's export, dare I say, is terrible. And then they'll need to do TPI for the QuickBooks Desktop import, and then they can go back to SASANT once they're ready to re-import it into QBO.
Can I make a suggested workflow instead?
Yeah.
So I know that people keep saying for some reason you can no longer export from QBO to QBD. For some reason, it still works for me. I'm able to take my QBO file, go straight to QuickBooks Desktop. The goal there would be, obviously, you should have everything reconciled as best you can or whatever.
I think, Matthew, the answer to why people are probably having trouble with that is don't you need Internet Explorer's ActiveX plugin still to do that?
It just downloads.
You do. No, you do. And it depends. I had to have help the last 2 times. And I had like Internet Explorer 11, and they put me in 10, and they put me in 9 and 8, and then 11, and it finally, one of them worked.
Yeah, it only works with Internet Explorer. That's the biggest problem there. Are you saying, Matthew, you're able to do it in Chrome?
No, I mean, it's Internet Explorer, but I can try to make a video onto it. Maybe it's just one of those things where it's easy to forget what you had to learn.
No, the problem is that Internet Explorer is here's how I like to describe Internet Explorer. It's like the disease-ridden crack whore of Internet browsers. It is nothing but problems. I get it that it works, but it's Internet Explorer, and that's the problem.
Actually, it's a little different. It's the disease-ridden crack whore that of internet or web browsers that you're related to, so you still keep it around because you need it for very specific jobs. So,
right.
Wow, is all I have to say to that conversation.
My favorite meme regarding Internet Explorer is this meme where it's like somebody's talking to Internet Explorer, the browser, and the Internet Explorer is asking, like, what is my purpose? And the guy answering says, to install Chrome.
So, the important part, though, like if you're doing rebuilds of data, this is what we started to do, and we really like. Our good friend Sarah Laidlaw has a wonderful program that for QuickBooks Desktop, if you get the data into there, you can use that to get your trial balances out of it, that you could then create a new QuickBooks Desktop company file with decent, beginning numbers. And then if you've got the full year, rebuild the full year with pulling your transactions in with shameless plug, vendor sync. Now you've actually used the 2 different pieces together. You'll be able to rebuild this stuff, reconcile it, then push it nice and clean to QBO. Beautiful.
Cool. Can you repeat that?
Yes. The key parts, order, vendor sync, and I'd be happy to tell people kind of what we're talking about. It's using trial balance exporter to export out what would be your beginning balances, all of your beginning entries into a brand new company file in Desktop. So you use that first to get your good numbers. Once you've got your starting point, then you actually can use vendor sync to pull all your transactions from bank feeds, because at this point we are talking post-transactional accounting, right? Mm-hmm. Pull all that information in, process that in an efficient manner. That will get you all of your beginning balances, will get you all of your transactional details. And from that point, you could take all of that information once it's reconciled and cleaned up, and you could push it up. There are additional portions of it, but it depends on the file. That's a very simple, clean, get restarted concept, right? You would still have your invoices that you'd want to address possibly. If there's payroll, a couple of details like that. But for the transactional stuff, for the reconciliations, everything else, that would really help quite a bit.
Got it. Cool. All right. See Matthew if you need more help. He's available for hire at parkwaybusinesssolutions. What? It's not com. It's something else.
Parkway.business, actually.
Parkway.business. All right. Matthew Fulton for president of the United States of America. He's going to make accounting great again. Sorry. By the way, Sarah Prevost, I don't know if you did something
head behind him.
Sarah Prevost, I don't know if you did something different with your hair, but your hair looks lovely this morning. I don't know.
Oh.
Is there something different about it? I don't know what it is, but I was just noticing, like your thing came up And I just wanted to tell you, you look lovely this morning. You look radiant.
Well, thank you. I took a shower. No.
No winter coat and scarf and hat.
I know. It's warm today. It's 62. Or no, 43, but 62 in my office. So.
All right, and so notice Matthew has up the Seth David for president. Matthew is going to be my campaign manager. Not this election, but the next election. I will be starting my ticket, running for president. So just
you got to do it now.
Together an exploratory committee is the way you're supposed to say it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm forming an exploratory committee. That just sounds bad, like exploratory surgery or something. Like,
I think he needs to drink hot cocoa on Thursday nights before this because he's like raring to go every Friday morning. I love it.
apparently. And the giant mushroom. I said giant mushrooms. The giant mushrooms are later tonight. The giant marshmallows go in the hot chocolate.
He is good.
Freudian slip.
Good stuff.
Wow.
2 slips today.
Giant magical mushrooms.
We'll call it whatever you want. It works.
Right, and then this is what we'll do next Friday. Wow. Remarkable.
I think it's the magic.
Colors.
Matthew Fulton is in such pretty colors.
You see colors, Matthew?
Now I do.
It's
You're
like a
supposed to go like this, Matthew. You're
kaleidoscope.
supposed to go like this.
Your mind is a kaleidoscope of ever-changing moods and colors. It seems that Dr. Aaron Butterfly wants to dip us in plaster and use us for bookends.
On that note, I must
On that note, join Gina's hangout later today, 2:30 Pacific, 5:30 Eastern.
Very mild.
We will continue the conversation.
Make sure you drink your mushroom tea. On that note, I better go. I think the DEA is on its way to my house right now.
Thank God for Zoom. See ya.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.